for us, but in the meantime, as the Protoss player spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, guys, welcome to game number 1 here on Sunday at Insomnia 48, the ESET UK Masters representing Mouse Sports. Here in the round of 12, we have Hasuobs. His opponent, who's going to be spawning in the top right-hand position as the red Zerg player here, representing Team Dignitas, the sole survivor from their team left in this tournament. Can he make it to the quarterfinals? Playing very solidly yesterday, we have Tefel, the fork Zerg.
And we still don't know what his name means.
No, it means fork in Polish.
No, man, we need to find out later. I want to know the real version now. We cannot give misinformation.
Yeah.
Well, I can, but to you
yes,
only.
you can. And even he was saying in the chat, he wasn't, when you were asking him in-game chat yesterday, he wasn't telling you as well.
Yeah.
We're being trolled by him too.
He's going to keep it a mystery, man.
Maybe.
He's making himself feel desired.
It's fork in Polish.
So anyway, Hasuobs here, he opened with pylon by his mineral line in the bottom left-hand corner of his base. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for his gateway opener, followed by a Nexus, but he hasn't made it yet, maybe delaying it a little bit here. Considering the placement of the pylon, it seems unlikely he will go for a forge opener, but maybe he could go for a Nexus and then a forge into this position. You don't really expect Tefel to ever open with some kind of early rush in those games. Tefel is one of those players, just like Stefano, you know, who likes to expand always at the same timing, and cheese only very rarely.
Well, if you, it's also the hallmark of a player who, look, I don't need to cheese to beat you. I'm going to play a long macro game, and I'm pretty sure that I'm just very confident in my ability there. And Tefel has every right to be in that position. He's performed very, very well so far. And I mean, both of these players, of course, are very confident, but it really goes to show that that's why we're not really seeing as much cheese out of these guys. This is the sharp end of the stick, if you will. Yeah,
I totally agree. And yeah, as I said, Hasuobs knows that Tefel rushes very rarely, so he's gonna go for a build that you would not go usually if you play, say, someone like Nurture or Bly, who can rush you sometimes with those Zerglings, because now you will be in a lot of trouble. You would obviously have to cancel his Nexus and his Pylon and his expansion, if that were the case. Yeah. But now, the way he plays this Forge, it's not really going to matter. He's safe for the moment. He's gonna go for a scout here, first taking the Watchtower, making sure he sees no links on the way, in which case he will need to pull probes. He knows he's going to be fine, so behind this he's going to follow this up with the standard 2 assimilators, and then from there I haven't seen him play Forge Expand yet versus Zergs.
Exactly.
What does he go for? Does he go for Stargate? Does he go for Robo and a quick third?
You were talking about this before the start of the match, that we're very, very used to seeing Hasu just stick the gateway down in the main base, and of course in this particular game the Forge went down in the main base. Now Tefel knows that now because he saw the cannon at the natural. Of course, when the Forge is inside the main, it takes much longer for an Overlord to scout it, but of course if there are cannons on the map, then that mystery is solved. Cybernetics core now, and I am really eager as well, Todd, to see what Hasuobs plans on transitioning to out of this.
And he's going to go for a Zealot, so not choosing to skip this one. Could we see an Immortal Push in the first game here? I think that's a possibility. It seems less likely from somebody like Hasuobs, but you never know. And remember Tefel versus Crank. The Immortal Push didn't go so well for Crank as well.
No, it didn't.
In general, I wouldn't recommend using this build against Tefel. You need to adapt a lot to his style, where he goes for Hydralisks and Zerglings, and usually less Roaches. He did get Roaches yesterday, which he was doing a lot less in Wings of Liberty. I guess he probably lost some games to some early on aggression. If you know your opponent is going to get... It takes 3 bases early on and then rushes to Hydralisks. There is a timing window during which you can attack with a couple gates and +1, and you can really inflict a lot of damage onto your opponent. But we have the Stargate going down for Hasuobs.
All right, so
he's made his choice. Yeah,
we are going to see a bit of Stargate action to start the day off here at ESET UK Masters, hidden away in the corner of his main base, trying for as long as possible if an Overlord suicides in, hoping that he won't get to see that, and even putting a Stalker in position at his third base. I really like this from Hasuobs. He's checking to see if there are any Overlords coming in, and there is actually one coming in. It's pretty much at the ramp at the third base, and I think that Overlord might just be dead. If the Stalker sees it, he does see it, and Hasuobs is going to engage.
And he's going to be pretty happy about this, because he knows this is the second Overlord that's supposed to be near his base. You know the first one is always above your natural expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's going to pick off whatever unit is up there. Usually, yeah, the Overlord with either a Phoenix, or sometimes as Protoss you make a Mothership core and then you try to surround it. You try to get a Stalker all the way around to be able to shoot at this Overlord, but in this game Phoenixes will be enough, and he goes for 3 gates and +1 behind this. Wow. So we might see some pressure being put on, but it could also be a third and some pretty passive play, in which case he could get enough Zealots to defend against any amount of Zergling Roaches, pretty much.
Yeah, Hasuobs is, I mean, his build so far seems to be quite versatile. He can be aggressive with it. He can choose to sit back and take his third. He's leaving his options open, and he's continuing to get information out of Tefel. I also really like that as soon as that Overlord started getting engaged, it's the little things that separate the good players from the great players. We saw Tefel immediately start an extra Overlord. He already had one in production, made sure he had a second one. So even though that supply blocked him when that Overlord was taken out, it was for a grand total of about 2 seconds. No problem whatsoever.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Robo being thrown down here, because he invested into 4 gases very early on, and he's made a lot of probes. He's getting a lot of money in right now. Hasuobs, that is. He's going to make the Robo in his main, and I'm pretty sure he's going to follow this up with a third. You don't usually see Phoenix aggression into 2 base all in. Sometimes you will see it, but it's one of the rarest strategies that I've seen being used. So Hasuobs right now is moving out with a couple Zealots. 1 probe, I think he's going to proxy a pylon, try to warp in a couple Zealots, and then put some pressure on with those Phoenixes. But we have the Hydralisk Den about to finish, actually. And Tefel, he's only making 4 Roaches. He might just get a bunch of Lings and some Hydralisks right now, but he's waiting to see exactly how much he's up against before he chooses to make units and how many he should make, because he wants to drone more.
Yeah, he doesn't... oh no, the Roaches are killing... Well, I guess... Since they can't hit the Phoenixes, they might as well kill one of their own Roaches, which is exactly what happened at the third base of Tefel there. And he wants to see how much Hasuobs is going to be committing to these air units. Are we just going to stop at 5 Phoenix, for example? Or is Hasuobs going to be transitioning into quite a lot more air? Tefel doesn't know for sure if a second Stargate is in Hasuobs' plans at the moment, but of course with that robotics facility down, as soon as we start seeing some of those units, it will become pretty clear. So those Hydralisks are going to be quite versatile, very, very useful in defense.
And I like the decision of Hasuobs of pulling back here. He saw there was too much for him to do anything. Oh, he has to be careful with his Phoenixes here. Those die very quickly from Hydralisks. Yeah. He's going for the Robo Bay. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws down a third here momentarily. He's only gone up to 4 sentries. That's not much at all. He doesn't have that much gas. He's been spending all of it. He's going up to 6 gates on 2 bases, and he's still making probes. So this really means that he's going to be taking a third, but I don't know why he's delaying it so much. He could have started it now already. Well,
the robotics bay is almost finished as well. Is it actually possible that he's just going to go into Colossus?
A couple Hydralisks are getting caught in the middle of the map.
Ooh, and that's not going to be good. They're very, very gas intensive, of course, even though they are significantly better in Heart of the Swarm. Hasuobs did move out towards his third base, looking like he might be poised to take it for a second, but I mean, he's getting Immortals right now. He just finished his robotics bay as well. And he's starting Colossus production.
Tefel's trying to hit a big timing here, during which the Protoss doesn't have his Robo units just yet, which he really needs against this army. Tefel on 94 army supply, Hasuobs on 61. He got the late Mothership Core, so he's not going to have a photon overcharge.
Oh, and the Cybernetics Core getting very, very low indeed. That's going to get sniped off from Tefel here at the front. The first Colossus is on the way, not quite there yet. And in the meantime, we have a little bit of Zealot harassment going on at the third base.
Yeah, and very nice force fields, actually. He's trapped a big part of the army. He saved the Cybernetics Core. Okay, as I said, that it dies. But he's held this pretty convincingly. Now he can take a third. But Tefel behind this, he has a plan. He's thrown down... He's made a Spire, but... you would think it's for Mutas, but he's only making Roaches and Hydralisk as well as a couple Links right now, so he has no gas.
And there's the third base coming out from Hasuobs. So better late than never, of course. He's going to be popping that down now. The forward panel is getting taken out from Tefel. There were a war bit of Zealots at the third that basically managed to kill off a Queen rather than too many drones. Number of workers killed still only standing at 1 this game so far. And, going to see if he can pick off a couple of units here near the main base. Has to be very careful because Hydras are now out and about, picking off a few of those as well. Just staying mobile with his Phoenixes, making sure Tefel is not entirely comfortable moving out of his base.
Second color signs on the way, Thermal Lance as well. Hasuobs with the level 1 attack upgrade finished. He's made shields behind this instead of armor. I'm not sure why. He seems to really favor this upgrade over armor.
Interesting.
I think I saw Soccer do this as well. Maybe they agreed that it was better somehow.
Later transition into Archons, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. And Tefel is about to attack again onto the third of Hasuobs. He knows that the Phoenixes are out of position, but there is 2 Colossi now, and although they do not have Thermal Lance, Hasuobs has a couple force fields ready.
right, and it looks like the force fields are going to be decent. The Nexus, though, is close to being forced to cancel, and yes, he will have to cancel that. Manages to get it at the last second. They're more decent force fields. Hasuobs has to trade so effectively here because Tefel is effectively containing him on the 2 bases. The Mothership Core goes down as well. The Phoenixes, do they have energy for lifts? No, they don't at the moment. They're just dead weight there in the air. Can something flying be dead weight? Well, they are in this particular case, taking down a Corruptor there when it pops out, and Hasu is going to push Tefel back, but Tefel, in the meantime, he's taking his 4th base, so Hasu really needs to make sure he secures that 3rd and possibly do a massive timing to stop the constantly expanding Tefel.
Yeah, Tefel, he's been doing well as far as trading goes. I mean, he's not doing too he's not doing too bad. He's still on 8,600 units lost against the 4,000 of Hasuobs. But he's got to cancel on the 3rd. That's going to be very good for him. But his drone counts, only 66 to 59. The army is getting right now is not durable. If Hasuobs can get maxed or can get even 180 supply, this army of Tefel is going to be completely useless as it's only tier 2 so far. He will need to take into Vipers to take on those Colossi, but we've seen Crank before with the nice Templar usage. So Tefel right now is really committing to these big attacks. He needs to keep on inflicting damage. He cannot lay back and take his time, take more bases. He has to put on more aggression. And that's exactly what he's trying to do, and Hasuobs knows that he's going to be in full defensive posture. It was pretty bad that Hasuobs lost his Mothership Core. He had to remake it. Now he's going to be low on energy, not going to have a photon overcharge.
Exactly.
We're both players to engage now. And Tefel, it looks like he wants to take some time and pull back. Now he's actually still making Corruptors, so he might end up
and here we
attacking,
go. The Swarm Hosts are coming out, Todd. So the Infestation Pit put down just finished here, and we have 5 Swarm Hosts popping out from Tefel. So we are going to see some Swarm Host usage in game number 1 here. Hasuobs mixing it up with the Stargate play. Tefel going to be going into Swarm Host. Pretty exciting stuff. Will he use those? I'm pretty sure he's going to try and use those with one purpose in mind. If he can't get a clear win in the middle of the map, he wants to see if he can deny Hasuobs' 3rd base yet again.
Yeah, Hasuobs has got 2 Colossi, but only 2. I think he's mistaking the matchup for PvT maybe, where we saw him do that as well, but you need to get more Hasuobs. Even though there's Corruptors, you have Stalkers to kill them, you have Phoenixes to tank some damage as well, and he's going to need more Colossi than just 2 against these Swarm Hosts. And the thing is, Tefel is not even taking to Vipers right now, he's just staying on Lair Tech. Hasuobs, he has a lot of probes at his 3rd, he's going to be well saturated now. He needs to buy himself a little bit more time. If he can get maxed, I think he has a really good shot at beating this army of Tefel and winning the game.
And the first 5 Swarm Hosts are now out there outside the 3rd base of Hasuobs. And I mean, this sort of Swarm Host Corruptor-esque composition coming out here from Tefel, used very strong early on in the beta. A lot of players used it. But one thing we have to be very careful about with Swarm Hosts, and there we go, they're really powerful in large numbers. And right now, Tefel, he only has 4 Swarm Hosts burrowed right now. So even though there are not a large number of Colossi, the Locusts will pretty much die before they can get any real damage done to the army. If he had like 10 or 15, it becomes a significantly larger problem. So Tefel has to be very careful that Hasuobs doesn't poke out just a little bit, use some force field, snipe off the Swarm Host, and go back into his 3rd.
Yeah, that seems unlikely, considering the concave, but yeah, you never know. Tefel definitely has to be careful. We see a Dark Shrine go down. Blink is about to finish. No further upgrades for Hasuobs. That's a big mistake. He's going to need upgrades, especially since when you're maxed, you might as well have a couple extra upgrades. And Hasuobs goes for the Crank expansion on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Maybe he saw Crank having some success with this in his previous game against Zerg, which was actually against Tefel. Remember the hidden expansion? Yep, exactly. Hasuobs going for the exact same here. And Hasuobs going for the Dark Shrine here is very smart because he knows that the Zerg has been on low economy this entire game, and he's not going to have Spore and Spines ready in each of his bases. He skipped Spore. No. He skips Spore in his main. He has 1 in his 3rd, 1 in his natural, but they are not even placed that well. So if he was to send some DTs, it could be a disaster here for Tefel, who's really trying to put more pressure on. He's finally tech to Hive, so he wants to reach Vipers ultimately. Yeah, he does indeed. And I'm actually wondering, it needs to be very careful with that Observer there as well. There is no Overseer out with this army, so Tefel's not going to be able just to snipe off the Observer and make sure the Swarm Hosts are safe. So he has to definitely keep Hasuobs contained right now. And wow, look at this! There's a spore. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So the proxy spore crawler, ladies and gentlemen, in the middle of the map, dumped down some creep from that Overlord, and pretty entertaining stuff from here. Trying to make sure nothing gets past him. The Dark Shrine is about to finish. Hasuobs, he has a proxy pylon on the right-hand side of the map. We might see a couple DTs being sent in And by DTs, I mean Dark Templars ready to slice up some drones. But we have an engagement here for a moment. Hasuobs is trying to trade, basically. He's trying to snipe units and then blink back. Force field if he has to lock down this Locust. But I mean, with only 6 Swarm hosts outside of his base, these Locusts are not going to do all that much.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, how those Swarm hosts can be really powerful, but you need them in large numbers. If there are only a couple of Colossi, they can basically laser them up very, very quickly indeed. But once the Locusts start getting unbearably large in number, every time you do that with your Colossi, you're losing a couple of Stalkers, you're losing a couple of Gateway units in the front, and this is what Hasuobs has been buying time for. The Phoenix is going to be harassing at the fourth, but a lot of DTs now marching towards an actual expansion.
Yeah, and 5 DTs, that's a very large number. One of those is going to spread out from the main group, rushing into the third. In the meantime, Locusts are still being traded against some of the army of Hasuobs, and 2 DTs in the expansion are slicing up drones right now. 2 more DTs will be in the main. There is no Spore in the main.
And Hasuobs is pushing out as well at the third base location. He has to pull back once the Corruptors get there. He doesn't get any of the Swarm hosts. He was trying to push out and get those, and now the DTs are doing crazy amounts of damage. 2 on the Hive at the moment. Will they take it down? The natural expansion is basically naked. The hatchery looks like it's going to go down there as well. Hasu moving in for the kill.
Hasu has killed 40 drones so far in this game, and Tefel is going to fall to 32 drones, and Hasuobs, I think he might realize he has enough here to crush this army outside of his base.
The Colossi are just about within range of the Swarm hosts. There's not enough of them here to dissuade Hasu from going out. The only 3 Colossi here, but as long as that Observer is in a decent position, he can go out and kill 3 or 4 of those Swarm hosts, because Tefel has his army quite far back. Tefel in a huge, very, very difficult position to come back on, and he's about to lose his pool.
And Broodlords are morphing. This might be the saving grace for Tefel. They are his only hope right now to come back in this game. He needs those Broodlords. He needs to win a big fight. He needs to crush Hasuobs' army if he wants to win, because he's lost his entire economy. He's down to 37 drones.
Hasuobs is not going to push out here at the third base because there's a large number of Stalkers going in for a flank from behind. He wants to hit from 2 sides at once, picking apart those Spore Crawlers in the middle of the map there and then blinking away. Tefel needs to be very, very wary of being sandwiched now, and here come the Broodlords. They're saying hello, but again, only a couple of Broodlords means that the Broodlings are going to get killed relatively quickly.
Yeah, but there is Locust plus Broodlings. That might prove to be too much for Hasuobs. He needs a couple Archons here if he wants to fight. He has too many Stalkers.
Yeah, it's a good point. A lot of splash damage would do a world of good here against these units. Locust once again trying to pop and nearly killing off a sentry that time actually, but the Stalkers are just causing Tefel so much grief in the back here.
Yeah, they are doing a lot of work, sniping a couple Spores here. Tefel has to be careful. He moved a little bit too much forward with his Hydralist here. And Hasuobs is waiting for a mistake by Tefel of going too far forward around his expansion, and Tefel was about to make this mistake, but then he pulled back. Hasuobs is counter-attacking with a pack of Stalkers here. He's not going to choose to flank this army. Tefel realizes this. He moves in for the kill.
Yep, he has to right now. I mean, the Broodlords aren't going to be able to get back to defend in time, so the pack of Stalkers will be able to take Tefel out. The question is, can Tefel's army take Hasuobs out here? Now that Hasuobs' army is off to the right-hand side as well, the Locusts from those Swarm hosts are going to be able to pick apart this third base. Hydras and Roaches in there as well. Hasu is just giving up on this base for now, which I think he has to do. He has to try and get more damage done to Tefel than Tefel can do to him.
Tefel is down to 0 drones in this game. He has enough money to remake some, but I mean, rebuilding any type of economy in this game seems very unlikely for him here. The army supply, 131 for Hasuobs, 120 for Tefel. Hasuobs finally got level 3 attack on his Stalkers, and he's about to engage into those Broodlords. He needs to blink below them and to snipe them, but oh, these Corruptors are completely destroying these Colossi. Tefel is going to pull back near his Swarm host for the moment.
And the last drone from Tefel, one was mining at the third base that just got spawned, has now died. So he's not going to be able to escape to build a hatchery in the middle of the map. He still has a hatch at the third base, but I think that's the last one left. So Tefel will probably just lose a base race here. I mean, Hasuobs has even taken that 3 o'clock expansion position as well.
And a couple Hydralists felt overly ambitious. They went to snipe the buildings, but oh, the Stalkers are going to blink below the Broodlords here, sniping all of them. We only have Swarm hosts left. And it shouldn't be... I mean, Tefel, he cannot really do anything much here with only a couple Swarm hosts left. Those are going to be very easy to avoid for Hasuobs. He has so many Stalkers. He could actually literally just engage into the Swarm host and win the game, but he's going to play it safe for the moment. He's trying to eliminate his opponent. We don't have much building. We don't have any buildings left.
Exactly.
And Hasuobs takes the win.
Yeah, that was the last building on the map, and Hasuobs takes a pretty dramatic game #1 victory there over Tefel.